Hi, this is Editing Erin. If you're listening to today's episode and think, wow, Emily sounds very far away and Erin sounds like she's right next to the microphone, it turns out that when we were adjusting for the sound, I had the microphone pointed towards me and not pointed towards us. The microphone usually sits between Emily and I and catches us pretty Echo, I'm trying to record about our audio problem. You're not helping. So if Emily sounds far away, that is why. Echo is here to say hi.
So it's my turn to have the Unhinged opening. So this is a running joke that I've had with, one of my friends in regards to Starkid. And it is a running list of Starkid members that I would willingly join a cult for. Okay. And so the current list is at the very top, Dylan Saunders.
Yeah.
And then it goes in no particular order. Like, Dylan Saunders is, like, for sure number one.
Okay.
But then in no other particular order, Jamie Lynn Beatty, Mariah Stepien, Darren Criss, Joey Richter, Lauren Lopez, Clark Baxtresser, Joe Walker, Corey Doris, and Brian Rosenthal. Which is very ironic because the Tin Can Brothers, who is Joey Richter, Brian Rosenthal, and Corey Lubowich, are doing a Kickstarter campaign where they're, like, pretending to be a cult.
And you're like, I would love to join you.
I would love to join your cult, guys. And also, there is, like, in this cult Kickstarter campaign, there are, like, 2 or 3 goals, like, stretch goals, I think, where it's like, oh, if we reach this much, Brian will post a thirst trap on Instagram. And so I'm just like,
where
okay,
do I sign up? I mean,
might as well. So.
I think I would join a cult with Brian Rosenthal, if only for the fact that one of the book characters in the novel I'm writing, her last name is Rosenthal, specifically because of him.
I love Brian Rosenthal so much.
It's just a great last name. I'll always steal people's last names for books. Yeah. There's one of my floor mates when I was in college, her last name was Van Acker, and that is the last name that I've stolen for my books.
That's a great last name.
It is.
That's amazing.
Give me your last names. Everyone, submit your last names to me. I am so particular about names. I will praise and or roast them.
Right.
Welcome to the Feminine Bite. This is Erin and Emily, and we are going to very chaotically take you down a very dark path to the rise, the potential fall of the internet sensation that is Team Starkid.
It's hyperfixation time, baby.
Quick question right out of the beginning.
Yes.
What is your favorite musical of Starkid Productions?
I'm glad you asked, because part of my notes is just me ranking the Starkid musicals. Twisted is my ride or die.
Yeah.
I love Twisted so much.
I mean, besides Twisted, which I'll get into why I'm like, besides Twisted. It's... Trail to Oregon is...
Trail to Oregon, yeah.
It's such a love letter to the video game industry in such a cute way.
It's my number 5, but that's only because there are other musicals that I love equally to, if not a little bit more than Trail.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trail's like up there for me. So.
Okay. So.
Do we want to go into, like, the beginnings of Starkid?
Yeah, let's start there. So it starts at Michigan State University, right?
No, it starts at University of Michigan, and there's a big difference. Okay, so my dad is from Detroit, adjacent area. So I learned the difference between U of M and MSU very quickly because they are rival schools. So, Michigan State is public. It is go green, go white. Where's Michigan State? Oh, shoot. It's in It's in East Lansing, Michigan, and then University of Michigan, where Starkid is from, is in Ann Arbor. And
Okay.
It's private.
Gotcha.
U of M is very well known for its theater program, which I think Starkid really benefited from.
Yeah. Okay. So they started in U of M.
Yes.
And it was Nick and Matt Lang, these two dudes.
And Brian Holden as well.
Yes, and Brian Holden. And they started... Everyone knows that their first YouTube musical is a Harry Potter musical, but they actually have a musical 0, which is called The Hobbit 2, The Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Oh my god.
I have scoured the internet for information. This is what I can tell you about this musical. 1, Devin Lytle, who would go to play Cho Chang in a Harry Potter musical. She was cast as Arwen. I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. I've watched Lord of the Rings once. Nick rewrote the entire script at one point. He just was like, nope, this sucks, starting over.
That sounds like a very Nick Lang thing to do.
I don't know who this character is. Lord of the Rings fans, you'll probably know the context that I don't. The character Thorin got a much larger role with love interest.
Oh.
And the play was not considered a parody. It was supposedly a faithful adaptation with a joke title.
Interesting. The only thing I've seen about the Lord of the Rings musical is the puppet that they used for Gollum.
Yeah.
Which is it's half Jamie Lynn Beatty, half Nick Lang. Which is so funny. But yeah.
And this kind of brings us into a Harry Potter musical. This is actually a really interesting fact, which is originally the Harry Potter musical was not a parody. It was a faithful adaptation because whichever Michigan University
U
of M, they their theater department didn't jive with parody at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they weren't letting they didn't let people do parodies, and so there was this race to get a Harry Potter musical approved because it was considered a parody by the time they finished it. Well,
yeah.
It's man, this feels very held together by duct tape. But yeah, originally
Starkid held together by duct tape? Never heard of her before.
And I mean, a Harry Potter musical, which is the one they put up on YouTube, has got problems. Warner Brothers, and probably the tightness of TERFs herself, JK, actually Dumbledore was straight the whole time, Rowling, did not appreciate the IP encroaching parody. They weren't a fan of it, and they sent a cease and desist.
I do remember that, because then Brian Holden, Darren Criss, and Nick Lang made a video of oh, we didn't mean to copyright infringe. Darren Criss wrote a whole song about it.
Yeah. But they got away with fair usage. In this context, it means that Starkid can't make money off the production because they don't own the characters. But they own the parody of itself, the storyline itself, and the music. But they just can't make money off of it because of how fair use works.
Yeah.
Which means that if I ever want to fulfill my pipe dream of making an Avengers parody where it is just commercial mascots, I won't be able to make any money off of that. Because I do want Flo from Progressive to play Black Widow. And I want the Geico Gecko to be Nick Fury. I've thought a lot about this. And you know how there's two different actors who did Jake from State Farm, the white guy and the black guy?
Yeah.
I want Jake from State Farm to be a teleporter guy, right?
Yeah.
And I want him to be the bad guy that infiltrates the good guys. And when he's revealed to be the bad guy, they find the other one tied up in a closet, and he's like, "What do you mean you didn't notice I was gone?" And they're like, "You just look so much like each other. It's just so hard to tell you apart." And he's the only one who's like, "We're a different color."
That's funny.
This is. I've thought a lot about this parody.
I love that.
I'm gonna turn this down a bit because we are peeking. There we go. Okay.
Us peeking? Us being loud? Crazy.
So we started with some controversy, and then the genesis of a Harry Potter musical is that the Langs and their friends were like discussing if Draco was in love with Hermione because of how he bullies her in the Goblet of Fire. And that sort of brought into fruition Granger Danger, and from that, the entirety of a Harry Potter musical. It began with Granger Danger.
It begins with Granger Danger. It ends with Granger Danger. It is, I love Granger Danger so much. It's just so perfect.
When you, like, go, you know, rewatch, if you go rewatch, like, a Harry Potter musical with that context in mind, just being like, this whole musical just kind of came out of Granger Danger. It's like, wow, that's where this begins. Also,
Yeah.
I didn't know this. Starkid got its name from a line from a Harry Potter musical.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I was like, somebody sent a leak, and I was like, what? And it's when Drake Fall goes, oh, Potter, Starkid Potter.
Moon Shoes Potter.
I was like, okay, I didn't even know that. I just always assumed that they were just.
Well, I think too. I think they just pulled Starkid from it because, like, the original release of a Harry Potter musical was not meant for the masses.
No.
It was just to save money on burning DVDs.
Yeah. It was just we couldn't afford to make DVDs, and
Yeah.
and then also they couldn't sell DVDs.
So I think they, like, I wonder if they just were like, oh, what should we name our channel to upload this to send it to people, and then it was just like, oh, Starkid, because, you know.
Yeah. I do. Devin Lytle, who plays Cho Chang, she has a YouTube video about Starkid, and she said something, I can't remember what it was, about, according to Devin Lytle, in her own words, the budget for a Harry Potter musical was $100 Christian dollars. So they had $100 to make it. The scene where Ron Weasley is eating his dinner is actually Joey Richter eating his real life dinner because he hadn't eaten that day.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he just.
The Dorito scene, right?
No, he's like eating like out of like a Tupperware.
Oh yeah, okay. I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So, Starkid, they post this musical, this Harry Potter parody. They become an overnight sensation. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Devin Lytle says, or her theory as to why this got popular in the way that it did is because Harry Potter musical came out in 2009, and that was in between the last book being written and the last movies coming out. So Harry Potter fans were sort of looking for something between all of this stuff, and Potter Puppet Pals came out in the same time, and a Harry Potter musical, so it was just sort of this perfectly timed piece to come out while waiting for the next movies after the last book had come out.
Yeah, 100%. Because I remember finding, this is part of my notes, is like, I remember finding a Harry Potter musical in the 6th grade. I finished reading Harry Potter, the book series, in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And so all I did was, like, that entire summer, I was just, like, writing Harry Potter fan fiction. I was watching as many, like, Harry Potter videos that I can find. Like, Harry Potter, like, YouTube I was fully entrenched in.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard of Harry Potter, chat room YouTube videos?
No.
I loved Harry Potter YouTube, like, chat room videos. They were, like, fan fiction videos of Harry Potter characters in, like, AOL chat rooms.
Oh, that's so funny.
And so I would, like, me and my sister watch, like there were series of them. We were so invested in all of them.
Yeah.
And then, like, the Potter Puppet Pals, like, had a software where you could, like, make your own, like, cartoon shorts.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so they were, like, you were able to, so people started making, like, fan fiction out of that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going into such a tangent here.
No,
but
tangent away. You're so sexy when you tangent.
there is, like, there's 2 specific videos from the Potter Puppet Pals, like, fan videos that me and my sister, for whatever reason, like, religiously watched.
Yeah.
And it was Potter Puppet Pal music videos to Rockstar by Nickelback. and the Weird Al Yankovic version of I Want It That Way, which is I bought it on eBay.
Oh my god.
Those 2 I watched religiously. I also watched, there was a Harry Potter chat room that I really, really liked and followed.
Yeah.
For a very long time, but so, like, when you're watching them, they have, like, character songs, like, assigned to each of them.
Yeah.
But this person, like, when they went to go edit it, just kept restarting the song whenever this person was talking.
Yeah.
So I just remember they set, who was it? I want to say they set Harry's character song, or profile song, to, Don't Trust Me by 303.
Ah!
And so every time he talked, it was black dress with the tights underneath, and that's all I knew of the song for, like, a solid year.
Yeah.
So, that whole tangent to say, like, it was a very fast discovery for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of Starkid.
I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. I have seen all of the Harry Potter movies. I have none of them willingly. I've watched them all against my will. I fake read one of the books in school because this other girl was like, I can read faster than you, and I was like, I totally read Harry Potter, and I, like, fake read this book, and then I, like, obviously turn it back in. I couldn't tell you which book I picked up. I've never just... Harry Potter was just one of those series that never got me, you know? It just never did. And then my sister is a huge Harry Potter fan. She had a Harry Potter wedding, which was fantastic. She did the floating candles, and she attached the candles to invisible, like, fish wire or fish string, and so it, like, looked like it was so cool, so good. I have a vase that is, like, painted with the ghost animals.
The Patronus?
Yeah, I have a deer. And I know that, like, I know enough in popular culture that I'm Slytherin. I'm Slytherin for one reason and one reason only, is that you can't spell Slytherin without Aaron. So clearly I belong there.
I love that.
But I've never been interested in the main Harry Potter series. Mm-hmm. But I am absolutely feral for all of the side content. My Life as a Background Slytherin is one of my favorite comics.
I love that.
I loved reading all of, like, the headcanon about the Marauders. I like, knew more about, like, Harry's dad's friend group than I ever did about Harry Potter.
No, honestly, that's a vibe, though. Like, Marauders fans are really, like, green flags. Also, like, to say, too, that, like, I'm not really invested in Harry Potter anymore.
Yeah.
I think it will always be a part of my life in terms of fandom, but I'm not like, actively looking for it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put that little disclaimer out there.
Neither am I. I mean, I did refer to J.K. Rowling is the Titaness of TERFs.
Yeah.
She's not a great person.
No. But
trans rights are humans' rights. Jesus Christ. That should be obvious, but we're just gonna say it anyways. But yeah. So, like, I watched the Harry Potter musicals because, like, I think that everything except for the main content itself is far more entertaining than the main content could ever be.
Honestly, when J.K. Rowling started tweeting out all of this, like, TERF shit, I fully was, like, through copium just being like, Oh, well, J.K. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter. The Lang brothers did. J.K. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter. Gilderoy Lockhart did, and then he fucking obliviated all of us to make us believe that it was this J.K. Rowling bitch. Like,
yeah. So Starkid becomes this overnight sensation with this musical, and I've looked at all of the other musicals, and they tend to pull anywhere between 4 to 5 million views, which is
insane.
Which is insane
for like literally 14 musicals over the span of like 13 years.
It's insane to keep those numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you where we're gonna end, because we're gonna be ending with Nerdy Prudes, and so it's important to start here with Harry Potter and its most successful one. So Nerdy Prudes is still technically in its infancy. It's only been out for a few months, but it only has 2 million views, which is putting it in 3rd place for least viewed Starkid musical, with a Harry Potter it's right behind Harry Potter Senior Year. But I don't think that one counts, because that's not a musical. That one is a staged reading, which means Nerdy Prudes is in 2nd place, and I want you to guess.
I think I know the least viewed. Isn't it Annie?
It is Annie.
Yeah.
Much, poor, forgotten, abandoned on the side of the road, like the orphan with the musical of the same name. Poor Annie.
Yeah.
And, Annie was the Star Wars parody. I personally didn't watch it because I didn't like the stylistic concept of, the sort of choir and then people silently dancing. It just wasn't for me. And so, it took its risks, and unfortunately, Annie is a really good comparative tool for the success of new shows. If it's doing worse or just as good as Annie, in my book, that means it's not doing very well.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, it's not changing the way that people... It's not changing people the way that, Twisted did. You know what I mean? It's not doing something. So the question that you didn't ask, that Emily and I are going to answer, is what happened? Because Nerdy Prudes failing isn't quite like Annie failing. Annie was a silly parody that they couldn't make money off of anyways. Nerdy Prudes is a part of this 5-year-long project. And, I guess the ultimate question at the end is, is Nerdy Prudes the beginning of Starkid fading into obscurity? Niche obscurity. They are still going to be die-hard fans. But are they becoming the niche obscurity versus being this well-known internet powerhouse?
Yeah. So, I think I just kind of want to throw out all of the musicals in case we do end up referencing them, so that if anybody that's not familiar with Starkid knows what we're talking about. So their first show was a Harry Potter musical. Their second show, also released in 2009, is called Me and My Dick.
Yeah.
I personally think that Me and My Dick walked so that Big Mouth could run.
Yeah, it's this campy, weird production about high schoolers and their sex organs being personified into people.
Yeah. Me and My Dick has not aged that well, but I still have a soft spot for Me and My Dick. Also, shout out to, in 2009, Starkid released a mini web series called Little White Lie.
Yeah.
I binged the shit out of Little White Lie in middle school. And then in 2010, they released a Harry Potter sequel.
Yeah.
In my opinion, better than a Harry Potter musical.
Yeah. Oh, before we move from Me and My Dick, I have one fun fact. Because I was looking at all these musicals for fun facts. This musical, Matt Lang and AJ Holmes were paired together for a 24-hour theater musical, creation thing.
Yeah.
And the original name was just called Penis Play. And they had Darren Criss as the dick and Brian Rosenthal as the heart of the main character. So that's sort of the origins and infancy. I'm super fascinated in how things begin, so I have a lot of fun facts related to that.
Yeah.
But yes, continue.
Then also fun fact, I think if not the same exact 24-hour like theater festival, one of them, like either the year before or the year after, is when Jeff Blim conceptualized the Trail to Oregon.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, but 2011 they released Starship, which is just the Little Mermaid but in space.
And gender bent.
Yes, and then 2012 marks an interesting time because they do Holy Musical Batman, which marks the first show without either Darren Criss or AJ Holmes.
Yeah.
Who were their main songwriters.
Yeah. I have a few things to say about Holy Musical Batman. First of all, I don't like superhero movies, but I still watched this, which I think is genuinely impressive. I mean, Holy Musical Batman, it's a retelling of Batman's origin story with swear words and musical cues, and they steal the plot of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
And Holy Musical Batman is interesting too because they take like Batman is like what we think of Batman now of like very dark, broody, like edgy, whatever, and then they juxtapose it with the world of the kooky, zany, like 1960s show. Yeah. Which is so fun.
Yeah, and like Matt Lang said it was a passion project because they knew they couldn't make money off of it. Mm-hmm. But at that time, Team Starkid was financially stable enough to pursue this passion project.
Because they also were coming off of one tour.
Yeah.
They are coming off of Space Tour.
Yeah, and Holy Musical Batman, this idea was tossed around immediately, like, right after Harry Potter, like, the first one, this was an idea that was getting tossed around.
Yeah.
And Matt and Nick were just like, we just never got to it.
I think Matt Lang conceptualized Holy Musical Batman, like, back in a Harry Potter musical days, and then this is when they were, like, fully fleshing it out.
Yeah.
2012 also marked a Harry Potter senior year, which they brought back Darren Criss for.
Yeah, because it was his final performance with Starkid.
And then Ivana Lynch was also in it.
Yeah, Luna Lovegood played Luna Lovegood, which is so sweet and adorable.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a very good singer, but I'm happy that she was there.
Yeah. 2013, they released Twisted.
This was a game changer.
Twisted,
Like, Twisted is often regarded as the best thing that Starkid ever produced.
Yeah. I, not biased as it being my favorite, but I would agree with that.
I watched a YouTuber talk about it. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Shrefillis Productions. It'll be linked. His hottest take, which I just have to share with all of you, is that he thinks it is better than Wicked or Aladdin, which it is spoofing off of. That was his take.
To be honest, I mean, I'm a big fan of both, but I do prefer Twisted over Aladdin.
Yeah.
And it's hard if I choose Twisted over Wicked, but I think I do.
It's like, it's good because it's like the things that they picked to focus on, like the Disney Pixar acquisition, Ahmed, the way Twist characters like Jafar, Aladdin, Princess, like not a single line was wasted on, and the overall just character theme, and just by, that it's a parody and it's funny, it's like deep and moving, and it's very lightning in a bottle. It's incredibly good. And then we have Annie. Poor Annie.
So yeah, so 2014 they did what was called the Starkid Summer Season, and they produced and ran Annie and the Trail to Oregon at the same time in the same theater, but they did it alternating days. It was really interesting. So they alternated days when they ran Annie and TTO, but then they also had other, like, some of their, like, cast members, but, like, cast members who were doing alternate projects, like the Tin Can Bros, most specifically, were doing shows, like, as openers to them, too. So that was really interesting. I think that it really exemplifies, like, how supportive Starkid is of their people doing outside things.
Yeah.
And I also think kind of an acknowledgement that they don't want to, like, limit their cast, which is great. 2016, they released Firebringer, which personally was kind of a flop for me. And I feel like that's kind of a general consensus.
Meredith Steppen wrote the music for it, and it's got a good sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, when I listen to Starkid musical songs on the reg, and I don't have any Firebringer. I'm never like, oh, I want to go listen to Firebringer.
Yeah.
I'm never like that. And, like, I don't know what it is about Firebringer where I'm like, it was fine.
I think part of it was the Chorn thing.
Yeah.
Like, you have me in, like, this, I'm very used to, like, you get me used to this caveman setting, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, like, Chorn's a fucking alien, and you're like, what is this?
I say this knowing that I do have a Duck is Lord t-shirt.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, Firebringer has some good moments, but I think overall, like, the pacing of the story is kind of slow. I think Zazalil as a character is kind of two-dimensional.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole cast of characters is kind of two-dimensional, to be honest.
The marriage at the end, we're like, you two don't like each other.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, so there's, like, I don't know, it feels like it's not...
It's kind of like Nerdy Prudes, where it's like, you're not saying anything profound or doing anything interesting. This is exactly what we expected out of a musical that is set in this time period and exploring these themes.
Yeah.
Nothing unique is happening.
Yeah.
Except for Duck is Lord.
Yeah. He is Lord, the Duck is Lord, he is Lord, 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 the Duck is Lord. Also, for Starkid fans, Satan is a Real Man, as a meme, it comes out during the Firebringer era.
Gotcha.
So, Satan is a real man.
And then we have the second, or I guess the third, like, game-changing musical, which is The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, correct?
Yeah, so, in 2017, they do release kind of a smaller web series called Movies, Musicals, and Me. But not a lot of Starkid fans talk about Movies, Musicals, and Me. But that's just, like, it's literally, like, Esther Falk, who, now I'm blanking on who she played. So never mind. But she, kind of pretends to be, like, this, like, film buff guy who is trying to turn movies into musicals.
Yeah.
So there's that little series, and then in 2018, they drop I call it kind of the renaissance of Starkid.
A game changer.
Yeah. Which is The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. And I remember too, like, I had, like, in between Twisted and Firebringer, like, I had been following what Starkid was doing, but I definitely thought that I was, like, falling out of Starkid, and then they were talking about The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, and then it released, and then a year later I ended up watching it, like, I kept pushing it off, and then I watched it, and that's what, like, reignited this, like, spark of hyperfixation for me in Starkid.
Like, I'm not a musical person, but I do have a BFA in creative writing, and so when I think of all of these musicals, I do think that a very popular musical, Twisted, and The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals are, like, the insurmountable juggernauts of Starkid. They are the best works, and they are filled with so much heart and soul and idea, and, like, the fact that they have 3 musicals like this is impressive, right? Like, not every Sondheim musical is going to be a banger. I say this knowing that I could not name a single Sondheim musical off the top of my head. I just know that he's a musical dude.
Sondheim wrote Into the Woods, Company,
Did he also do Bad Cinderella? Is that him?
No, that's Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Okay.
Sondheim did... shoot. Sondheim musicals.
I know that he's dead, isn't he? Right? He died recently.
Mm-hmm.
That dude
a couple years ago.
That dude set me up for failure in high school because I watched a video of him talking about the casting for the musical movie of Into the Woods, and he said that he would rather have a mediocre singer who can portray the song well rather than a phenomenal singer that cannot, like, get the character energy in the song. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so if I, like, maybe, because I'm a mediocre singer, so maybe if I go the other angle and I work on that part, maybe I'll get a role. Nope. Fuck you, Sondheim, setting me up for failure.
He wrote Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
He wrote West Side Story, Assassins, Sunday in the Park with George.
Okay.
Kind of his big ones, yeah.
Okay, so he's got some big ones, obviously, and then some more obscure ones. So, like,
yeah.
Not every musical is gonna be a hit, right? Mm-hmm. It's impossible. The fact that they got 3 is very good. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, I hope we get another one soon. It's almost like they're overdue for something profound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. 2019 to 2020, or no, I'm sorry, the year 2019 marks their 10-year anniversary. So they are doing their Kickstarter for, like, Starkid Homecoming, and that's kind of their big production of the year, is getting literally, like, as many Starkid cast members as they can scrounge up, which is, like, around, like, 50 to 60 people.
Yeah.
To do a 10-year anniversary concert. The pandemic hits right after that. So 2020 to 2021, they do their Nightmare Times and a VHS Christmas Carol. And we'll get into the Nightmare Times.
That is a next episode's problem.
We'll get into the Nightmare Times, but a VHS Christmas Carol is a production of an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, but all of it's set to, like, 80s themed music.
Yeah.
Which I do love a VHS Christmas Carol. I cannot lie. 2022, they announced their new Kickstarter campaign, which is Starkid Returns. And so at that point, they announced a bunch of new projects that they're working on. The first one that rolls out from that is Jangle Ball, which is a national tour where they do a VHS Christmas Carol, but also a compilation of, like, villain songs. And I did attend that, so we can get into that in just a little bit. But then 2020, they announced it in 2023, but we have yet to see it happen, is a bunch of productions that they are calling kind of this subset called Starkid Labs. And right now that comprises 3 productions that we have yet to see. Sissy, which is an adaptation of Sisyphus.
Yes.
Space Baby, which is supposed to be an anthology series about I don't know what.
And then Lauren's podcast.
Lauren's podcast, This Title is Permanent, which we have not received any new information on.
Yeah. And, like, as an avid Starkid fan, none of these things sound appealing to me.
Yeah.
Space Baby, I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that one either, to be honest. And we just know nothing about This Title is Permanent.
Yeah, we just know it's a podcast.
Yeah. And then also in 2023, is when, like, the tail end of 2023 is when they released Nerdy Prudes Must Die, which is their third installment of the Hatchetfield musicals, onto YouTube. And we'll get into Nerdy Prudes. That's like a whole, along with the Nightmare Times, is a whole other can of worms.
Whole other podcast episode. We got opinions.
Then 2023, they also did another, like, Christmas show in Chicago and called it the VHS Christmas Carols, and adapt 2 other Christmas stories in the same vein of the original VHS Christmas Carol. So they adapt Gift of the Magi and Little Match Girl, which they haven't released any of that on YouTube yet, and I don't know if they will or not.
It feels very weird for them to be adapting, like, Christmas stories. I don't know. They don't feel very pro-Christian, which is...
Yeah. And, like, also, like, half of their... Not half, but, like, a good chunk of their cast is Jewish.
Yeah.
Because, like, just off the top of my head, like, Dylan Saunders, Brian Rosenthal, Corey Lubowicz. Yeah, like, it just seems weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, they technically can, like, sure, that's fine, but at the same time, it's like, you know, if it were another religious group, and, like, I feel like people would have a problem with is, like, you are profiting off of their stories in which all of you very much do not believe in, and that is a little weird.
Yeah.
That's just, it's not a hill I'm willing to die on, it's just an observation, because they have one Starkid member who left because of how, and a lot of this is rumor, but, like, people assert based on information that Bonnie, who played the original Hermione, left because she was very Christian, and she did not like the way... the sort of anti-Christian or atheistic sentiments of the rest of the team, which is fine. That's a perfectly fine reason to leave.
Yeah.
And so it's like knowing that like they have had one sort of falling out with a cast member about Christianity to then come out at the end to be performing Christmas content. It's like, is this for money?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, is this for money? That's it. Like, sure, you can do that. It's just, to me, it's weird. And as a Catholic woman, I don't care that Starkid makes fun of God most of the time. I literally don't care at all. Like, I told you, Trail to Oregon is my favorite musical, and they're very mean to God in that musical.
And sometimes God is a vicious, two-faced prick.
I say that sometimes unironically.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, as a Catholic woman, that's very true. Sometimes God is a faceless, two-faced prick. But it's just one of those weird things where I'm like, what is this pivot towards Christmas content?
Yeah.
When you have never... We're talking in circles now, but yeah, that is my one weird observation.
Yeah. And their most recent announcement is 2024, they're doing a couple of UK shows as their, like, UK debut called Starkid in it. But...
it's only a little bit cringe.
Yeah, but we don't know. I don't really know what they're performing there, other than they're just gonna be in London.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Starkid.
Yeah. So this episode, I'm gonna take you down 3 people. We're gonna learn about 3 people. Well, we already talked about Bonnie. That's everything you need to know about Bonnie, is that she left. She went to go join a Christian theater group, so she found her people. We love that for Bonnie. And then she's been in a couple of films. And then she married a guy who starred in a film that she was, like, producing or a part of. So, I'm happy that she has found people that more align with her views. Again, Starkid's not bad for being anti-Christian, and she's not bad for being, too Christian for the mesh. They just didn't work together, and they have gone their separate ways. We love both of them. We're glad that they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The other three people we're going to talk about is Mariah Rose Faith, because I watched her video. Devin Lytle, because Devin Lytle has a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Manion.
Oh, boy.
So, are we ready to talk about them, or is there anything else we want to talk about the musicals themselves?
No. I think that was... I think
okay.
we're good there.
So, Devin Lytle played Cho Chang in a Harry Potter musical, and she played Miss Cooter in Me and My Dick.
Yes.
So Devin Lytle has a very positive relationship with Team Starkid. She left. She worked for BuzzFeed for a while. Now she has her own YouTube channel where she posted a video about Starkid. It'll be linked in the description, but you should go watch it. Devin Lytle is amazing. So Devin Lytle considers Cho Chang to be a very racist character. Most people who engage with Harry Potter in intersectional way tends to agree. Because there's nothing about Cho Chang's character beyond her name that identifies her with any ethnic culture, and many say that if you changed her name to a white name, she would be white because J.K. Rowling didn't put in any effort.
Mm-hmm.
This is opposed to and we know she can because there's two Indian girls, and I know one of them's name's Parvati. I don't know what the other one's name is, but when they go to the ball, the Yule Ball, they're dressed in. Yeah. They're traditional, asanga. It's not a sari. It might be a sari, but they're dressed in their culture's clothes, right?
It's
Padma and Parvati. So we know that J.K. Rowling can put in effort, and she just didn't with Cho Chang. And Devin Lytle also considers the Harry Potter musical depiction of Cho Chang just as problematic. She literally describes Cho Chang's introduction as a racist musical change, an inappropriate entrance into subvert expectations. It's the tall southern white lady that's Cho Chang, and the Asian actress is actually Lavender. And, she says while the humor isn't punching down on Sango Tajima, who played Lavender, she wasn't even necessarily bothered by the joke, because she had her own interpretations. But Devin feels uncomfortable and a little bit bothered by that. And I have a lot of, respect for Devin Lytle in her regrets and how Cho Chang was handled in the Harry Potter musical. Even though it is so minuscule, and even, on her YouTube video, a lot of Asian people have been I'm, Chinese and I wasn't very bothered by it. So, most people are, fine with it, but I'm glad that she's,
As a Chinese person, I do find the joke incredibly funny. I love the Cho Chang joke.
I literally thought it was they're pointing out that, Cho Chang is a racist character.
Yeah, that's what when I first watched it, that's what I thought it was as well.
We all thought they were being clever.
Yeah.
This is the curtains were just blue scenario where they're no, we just switched it because it would subvert expectations, and we thought it was funny, and we're it's so deep because Cho Chang is a racist character, and they're pointing it out in the parody.
Yeah.
And the lengths are write that down.
The amount of times in middle school that me and my sister quoted that's Lavender Brown, racist sister, was so many, because we appreciated the joke so much. But I do appreciate Devin being transparent about that.
Yeah.
And I also love that she uplifts Sango in that moment too.
Yeah.
I do also, a little bit of a tangent, but on the topic of Cho Chang, I do want to pull a little bit from this poem that has stuck with me since around 2010, 2012. And it's called To J.K. Rowling from Cho Chang by Rachel Rostad. If you haven't seen it, I will send Erin the link so she can put it in the description. But one of my favorite lines, because you mentioned, the name Cho Chang, one of my favorite lines from this poem is, "Miss Rowling, let's talk about my name. Cho Chang. Cho and Chang are both last names. They are both Korean last names. I am supposed to be Chinese. Me being named Cho Chang is like a Frenchman being named Garcia Sanchez.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I love this poem, but I just thought of that line. And I think, too, like, I think I think that Devin was very right to be like, you know, we were very young and like very stupid, and this is what we genuinely thought that the joke was.
Yeah. She constantly refers to this time period as we were small baby children.
Yeah.
Little baby children. I was like, oh, Devin.
Yeah.
And this is also why Devin doesn't go to Starkid events, actually.
Mm-hmm.
She says she doesn't want to perpetuate a racist caricature, even if fans want to see Cho Chang and sing her songs at Starkid events. And so I can understand why she's like, it's just, I don't want my legacy to be Cho Chang in a caricature that she is not proud to be. Right. I understand.
And I do think Starkid also has handled that very well. Like, whenever they do a live performance of Going Back to Hogwarts, they completely cut that part out and just skip to Cedric's, like, Cho Chang, I am so in love. And then, like, so I think that is handled very well, but I also, like, I do see, like, where if Devin were to be there, they'd be like, you know, Cho, like, they would try, like, I could see how fans would want to see that.
Yeah.
That wasn't a cohesive sentence, but we're just gonna move on from that.
Yeah. And so that is sort of what I have on Devin Lytle. Again, you can go watch her YouTube video. She has a lot to say about it. And that's where I got most of my information about the Lord of the Rings one, because she was cast as Arwen. And she was basically like, I had to learn how to horseback ride for somebody else's film thing, and the Langs saw me, and they wanted me to play Arwen. And then she also talks about how, like, when she had met them and they were doing these things together, she had connected them with the theater groups, and she says that her roles were given to her based on how they saw her. So as Cho Chang, they're like, this, like, sweet little sister-esque kind of thing. And then with Miss Cooter, it's like, then, we became best friends, and they thought it was really funny that I have a southern accent when I get drunk, and...
Yeah.
So, if you want to know how people thought about Devin Lytle, just compare her role as Cho Chang to Mrs. Cooter, because she's like, that's how I got my roles, is based off of that. Which is, like, a theater group in its infancy makes sense. She also said that, like, when it came to a Harry Potter musical, half of the shit was just in-jokes, and characters were developed based on the personalities of the person who was acting. And so, it's act what you know. Mm-hmm. So that's why, if you're, like, ever wondering why a Harry Potter musical seems to be so on point, it's because, the actors didn't have to act that hard, because they were acting out their own personalities in a very dramatized way.
Yeah. And too, like, Starkid, like, as a fan, you almost have to remind yourself over and over again, through production, that Starkid, at its core, is just a group of college friends.
Yep.
Like, they are just poking fun at themselves and each other.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that's why they feel so homey as a fandom.
Yeah.
And, like, also why I have such a parasocial connection to Starkid.
Yeah. So, next we're going to talk about Mariah Rose Faith. She was in Starry, which is a musical about Theo and Vincent van Gogh, and with that she worked with Dylan Saunders, Jamie Lynn Betty, and Jeff Blim. So that's how she met them.
I love Starry, by the way.
And then on June 25th, 2015, Jeff Blim messages Mariah Rosefaith on Facebook about Team Starkid when Nick Lang was looking for an actress to play a few roles in the upcoming musical The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, and Mariah agreed to audition. And then, according to Mariah, she's saying watch What Happens from Newsies. That was her audition. I've never seen Newsies.
It's a decent audition song.
And then she says this is how she found out she got on. After story closed, Jeff walks up to Mariah and just says, "Congrats! You made it!" And Mariah just kind of blinks because she's like, he's like, "Congrats!" And she's like, "Oh, like, for Starry." And he was like, no, you're gonna be in Starkid. Which is about what I expect from Jeff Blim.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mariah, she described being very nervous. But she became much more familiar and relaxed when they started doing, like, the dance numbers and things like that. She specifically mentions, like, Cup of Roasted Coffee was a very, like, bonding moment between her, Lauren Lopez, and Jamie Lynn Betty. So that's Mariah Rosefaith. Not a lot to her. And then...
I love Mariah.
She's so good.
So, you'll see her in The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. She was originally cast in Black Friday, but then she took a little break because she had to be Regina George in the Mean Girls tour.
Yeah, and then they cast her to be Regina George and Nerdy Prude's mustache.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was like, oh, gotcha. And now it's time to talk about our problematic Australian child.
Okay.
Robert Manion.
Wait. Okay, so Robert Manion, let me just preface this with, like, Robert Manion is a kind of a sore spot for me in terms of Starkid.
Yeah.
Because in my Starkid hyperfixation resurgence after The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, Robert Manion became my favorite Starkid cast member, and I think that's a very common experience for everybody, because it's not like he was in other productions, like he was in Twisted, but he was, in the ensemble. He was
technically in Firebringer.
Yeah, he worked the stage for Firebringer. So The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals is like the musical that really made him shine as Henry Higgins.
Yeah.
He does such a good job with Henry Higgins. The way that I could not stop watching Show, Stop, and Number was ridiculous.
It's good. So, Robert Manion kind of falling into controversy is a little upsetting. So Robert Manion gets onto the Starkid radar because for a very Potter senior year, they held this artist content for people to submit music, art, scripts, certain things like that. And Robert Manion was one of the winners. He wrote a song for A Very Potter Senior Year. It didn't get put into the production because of time constraints, but it's basically this magic wizard duel between Harry and,
Isn't it Draco?
Draco, yes. And there was another winner. She wrote a song about the Jeff Blim's Get Into My Mouth song. She wrote one of those songs. So, I don't remember her name, but on the interview where I watched this, she was like, "No, I'm doing fine, actually. I know because one comment was like, everyone is overshadowing the other girl," and she's like, "I'm doing great, actually, don't worry about it." So, we love that for both of you. So, that's actually how he began, just winning this contest. And then, again, as Emily said, his breakout role really is Professor Higgins in The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, which is really sad because, like, I guess he was in Black Friday. I guess he doesn't play a very large role in Black Friday, though.
Yeah.
It's sad that we didn't get to see a lot of him shining, but everything goes sideways when one random day on Twitter, out of the blue, he makes a post admitting to, sexually harassing a member on Team Starkid. This is what his post says. "I'm very lucky to have a platform where I can spread good, but it's important to recognize that in my personal life I make mistakes and fuck up. I sent explicit sexual messages, made unsolicited advances, and unwarranted sexual remarks to blank," it's censored out, which were sexual harassment. It was without consent, and I want to fully take responsibility for making blank uncomfortable and recognize it was harassment and completely unacceptable. I'm lucky that they had the strength to reach out to me and make me aware of the serious damage I was inflicting. It is not what I believe in, not what I stand for, and it is no place in a personal or professional relationship. Now, in this original post, he named the person. The version I have has it censored, and I personally did not go digging for it because I don't need to know, because this is uncomfortable to begin with, and I'm not going to out this person. It should stay censored. Nobody needs to know who it was. So people were rightfully outraged and confused, and Robert filmed apologies about this post, explaining that it was consensual and that he's trying to understand things. I watched like 3 of these videos of him rambling about it, and I was like, oh my god. And then Starkid responded to the whole fiasco, and this is what Starkid said. Last week, Robert Manion shared a post to his Instagram story. Did I say Twitter? It might have been Instagram. I found this on Twitter. I'll link the person who collected all of this. Baked Beans Agent, first of all. Good Twitter handle. They collected all of these screenshots and videos together. So Starkid says, last week, Robert Manion shared a post on his Instagram story to hold himself accountable for inappropriate messages he sent to a band member who had played on a previous Starkid production. Since then, we consulted an HR professional and investigated these claims by speaking to both Robert and the band member, both of whom cooperated with us fully. We confirmed that Robert had sent the messages, that the messages stopped when he was told of the discomfort he was causing, and found that his Instagram post was made at the request and with input from the band member who felt the post was a satisfactory resolution. In an effort to provide a safe, creative environment where everyone in Starkid can do their best work, we have decided that Robert will not be participating in Nightmare Time 2. Moving forward, Robert will have to take additional actions to demonstrate his growth and rebuild trust with Starkid collaborators before participating in future Starkid productions. So that's what they said. And then, and then some of these things were deleted, which again, thank you, Baked Bean Agent, for saving these things before they got deleted. You're doing the Lord's work. And I believe Robert ends up just pulling out of Starkid for the sake of just dying with dignity, sort of thing. Like, they part ways on good terms, but this is kind of the last we see of Robert Manion on Starkid. But this, my friends, is not where the controversy ends. Because Robert does not have one controversy. He actually has a lot. Some of them where I'm like, that seems very okay. But there is one other controversy that I want to bring up because it makes me want to say, fuck you, Robert Manion. Honestly. And this is, okay, this is the most juvenile thing to ever exist. This is middle school behavior, Robert. So, Robert Manion had a small tiff with John Madison. John plays Paul and the guy who didn't like musicals. Robert and John used to live together. I don't know if they do anymore. I presume not. But basically, John likes a tweet that, in my opinion, is very fucking correct, and Robert Manion needs to go touch some grass. This is what the tweet says. The tweet says, I think therapy made some shitty people worse because it taught them the vocabulary to hide behind. That's what the tweet said, and John Madison liked it, and Robert Manion could not handle this. So, Robert Manion, he basically goes on Twitter and, like, tears into John Madison, and John Madison is like, I wasn't subtweeting anybody here, I was just liking it. And then Robert Manion has to be like, therapy is a very serious thing, and we shouldn't be liking posts that demonize therapy. Do you know how helpful it is? You're just gonna make everyone scared of going to therapy. And he just goes on this high horse, holier than thou rhetoric rant about the importance of therapy and why John Madison was wrong. And other people on Twitter were like, he's, like, allowed to express his opinion. And even some people were like, this is a little juvenile, and and Robert Manion was like, I am, I'm gonna defend therapy to the day I die. I'm not gonna let anyone shit talk it because it's very important. Robert Manion, have you ever been manipulated by someone who knows all of the correct buzzwords? Because I feel like if you were, you would understand why that tweet is correct.
Yeah.
Like, people who know how to manipulate other people using therapy language, they are some of the worst monsters out there. Mm-hmm. As someone who has had it done to me, I once, when my ex-boyfriend's D&D campaign ended, we had switched DMs, and the new DM was very fresh. He had never DM'd a campaign before. Mm-hmm. And I was getting upset at the campaign because I built a tank, so someone who is designed to take hits. And I was getting, like, KO'd in every fight, and I was, like, disgruntled. And, like, he yelled at me. Like, my ex yelled at me for being disgruntled. He was like, the DM has depression and anxiety, so you should be nicer because you have depression and anxiety. And, like, it's a nightmare. Being manipulated by people who know all the right words to say is a nightmare. And I don't know why Robert Manion would take this holier-than-thou. Like, no system is perfect, mm-hmm. right? And people are always going to abuse the system. And his just, like, the way that he came out about it was just so weird and so uncomfortable. And I don't know why he did it.
Yeah.
And he's got a bunch of other controversies and other little things, but those are the two big ones that ultimately are me, like, kind of just fuck you a little bit, Robert Manion.
Yeah. He, like, very much, like, after the success of The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals and a little bit of Black Friday, it seems to me like he started really, like, showing his true colors. I don't know.
It's just also juvenile to, like, I can't imagine, is that a thing that happens on the internet, getting mad if your friends like a certain tweet? Like,
I don't really interact with people on the internet to say, like, yes or no. I'm kind of a lurker when it comes to social media.
Me too, which is why I'm like, this feels juvenile.
Feels not right.
And also, like, again, the post is not wrong, and it's not saying that therapy is evil. It is just talking about how narcissists going to therapy, well, most narcissists won't go to therapy because they don't think that's anything wrong with them, but if they're forced to go to therapy and they learn the language, then they can just manipulate people around them. Mm-hmm. It happened to me. Like, for real, if somebody says, oh, I'm a mental health advocate, I immediately don't trust them. Because of how many times I have been abused by people who are like, I'm so for mental health. Mm-hmm. You're for the pretty side of mental health, where it's cute and, the sadness is, approachable and pretty, but, like, as soon as it's irritability and irrational thought and inexplicable bouts of anger and all of the ugly sides of mental health, then all of a sudden you're like, no, mental health doesn't exist. It's weird. So, that's Robert Manion. That is, unfortunately, I mean, I'm impressed that Starkid, in all of its creation, only has has only had two problems with cast members, which is Bonnie and Robert. I think that's for the environment that they're creating, it must be very good since they have a very low turnover rate. Yeah. And really, the only part of the turnover rate is when they move. Like, they lost people when they moved from Michigan to Chicago, and then they lost people when they moved from Chicago to LA. That's really the only time they really have turnover. Yeah. Which, again, means that they are really producing, again, as Emily said, these are college friends. Clearly that they are doing something right, in which they seldom have problematic people in their industry. Because, I mean, if you think about the music industry, or the musical industry as a whole, everyone's problematic. Yeah. Like, you can't take 5 steps without running into problematic content. So I think that's impressive. And, like, I know we're kind of shitting a little bit on Starkid, but, I mean, we do still love Starkid here.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Starkid. Yeah. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think I, don't reference Starkid.
Yeah.
To be honest. It was, back in my, resurgence of, being obsessed with Starkid in, 2019. It was, a thing that, when I did drink, whenever I got, super drunk, I would just quote Starkid.
Yeah.
Deliriously, and, nothing else. My brain in 2019 to 2020 had no other room for anything else except for Starkid.
Yeah.
I hold so much respect for Nick and Matt Lang. I love Joey Richter, obviously. So it's just, I don't know, it's part of just, loving a thing so much and, wanting it to do better.
I once wanted, I had a D&D character idea where I wanted to play Joey Richter as a changeling, and his dream was to become an actor, and all of his changeling forms were various characters that Joey Richter played in Starkid. That was one of my D&D characters at one point, because I was like, that would be fun.
I love that. I do want to shout out kind of, Starkid adjacent groups. So these are groups that are kind of, the cast members of Starkid, have their own little side projects, too. The most well-known, that I mentioned kind of at the top of the podcast is the Tin Can Bros.
Yeah.
They have a couple of other, stage productions that are very good. So you should check them out. Spies Are Forever.
Spies Are Forever is so good.
Also, Joey Richter is so hot in Spies Are Forever. Anyway, and then the band, Jim and the Povolos, which is named after Starkid cast member Jim Povolo.
And that is the guy who plays the guard in Aladdin, right?
Yeah.
This is all your fault, Jafar.
It's all your fault, Jafar. But Jim Povolo is not in the band Jim and the Povolos. Jim and the Povolos is Meredith Stepien, a little bit of Brian Holden, just because they're married.
Yeah.
Nick Gage and Mark. I'm forgetting Mark's last name. Hold on. And a little bit of Jeff Blim, too. They haven't released a lot of music recently, but they're pretty vibey. Also Clark Backstresser. Mark Swiderski. Yeah, they're just a really good vibe. And also Shipwrecked, which is kind of I would say they're kind of a comedy group on YouTube right now. They have a couple of really good web series. They were the team behind the Lizzie Bennett Diaries back in the day. They did the Poe dinner murder mystery party. They just did a oh my god, Sleepy Hollow kind of parody. So yeah, just kind of wanted to shout them out.
Yeah, as we are coming to our close, what is your favorite line from any musical? What is the one?
It's one I always go back to just because I feel like it is one of the most poignant lyrics that Starkid has ever written.
Okay.
Hold on. I have to find it because I don't want to get the words wrong because it has big SAT words. It is from Twisted. Shocker.
It's these kinds of words garner you lots of points on Scrabble.
Oh my god, where is it? It's towards the end. Hold on. I gotta scroll a little bit. My favorite line in Starkid ever is, "The question then is whether 'tis nobler in the mind to be well-liked but ineffectual, or moral but maligned."
That's so deep. My favorite line is, "What the fuck is a Hufflepuff?"
Okay, Wait, I can have a funny joke one. I can have a funny joke one too.
Oh, hold on, I'll find a serious one. Hold on, flipping it.
My favorite funny joke one shit. Oh no. Is in the guy who didn't like musicals where Higgins is holding the gun and he goes, "Sing the beginning of Moana." And then John just is like, "Oh, what?"
But I think my favorite serious line, is, which, we were talking about this last night when we were talking about Dirty Girl Soup, which, spoiler for our next episode, we're gonna go into Dirty Girl Soup, but it is a line from Harry Potter sequel, which is, "History is nothing more than what the losers settle for," which is so hardcore.
Yeah. I will also say, Twisted, this lyric that I just read from Twisted is the same musical that has the tiger fucker bit.
Yeah.
Oh, so he received the manhood of a tiger. Oh.
He fought the tiger.
No, my Woody. His arm is all fucked up. And now he can't come with me to cowboy camp.
Some of the Starkid lines, like, and as we know, God
is a vicious
two-faced prick. That line is so fucking good. I want to see you kick above your waistline.
Show me that roundhouse. Show me that sweeping crane kick that your kung fu master taught you. The one that I used to quote all the time is actually from Annie.
Yeah.
Annie is not my favorite. Annie, in my ranking of Starkid, is number 11 out of 14. Okay? But some of Annie's bits are really good.
Yeah.
Nick Lang as Obi-Wan Kenobi is, like, forever my favorite.
I love it when Nick Lang decides to cast... I know vanity projects are bad, but Nick Lang always casts himself in the exact correct character.
Nick Lang gets a pass.
He gets a pass because he's always funny, because he does Robin too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. We're wingmen singing in thirds.
In Holy Musical Batman, when he's like, "We can see the sunrise," that's my favorite part. But in Annie, he's talking about, he's like, Moff Tart. Is this Moff Tart? I don't remember this guy's name. I'm not very good at Star Wars. But one of the main characters in Annie, he's like, "You remember Annie, don't you?" And then Nick Lang's like staring into the void. He goes, "I remember Annie. He was like a brother to me. So I cut him in half and threw him in a volcano." And then he goes, "Oh, well, he's better now." What?
Yeah, there's a lot of funny lines in Starship. Starship's opening is a parody of Stormship Trooper, which is the "I'm doing my part." That is from Stormship Trooper, which is so fucking hilarious. But fun fact, there's a character in Starship named Specs, right?
Yeah.
She's a minor character, and one of the other characters, like, wants to, like, bang her. At that time of watching it, I was in a D&D campaign where I was playing a character named Spectre, and for short, people called her Specs. And so I was half paying attention when the guy who was a crush on her was like, "Oh yeah, check out Specs' ass." And I was like, what the fuck? Hello? He's in my walls.
He's in the goddamn walls.
Oh my god. I posted a book review on... this is so off topic, but I posted a book review on Instagram, and I wrote, "Everyone is obsessed with this teenage girl and sexualizing her." I was like, Chris Hansen is on his way. He is in your walls. He is coming for your ankles.
Now it's just gonna be us, like, sharing our favorite Starkid bits, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a good Starship one that I really, really liked.
What are these hideous creatures? The oxygen bit is so...
I know we're suckers, but that guy's a sucker.
Jeez. There's just so much good, like, in Trail to Oregon, Joey playing every other side character is really funny because he does it really well.
Yeah. Foreign independence. Welcome to... Starkid is really great for people that like quoting things.
Yeah.
I'm a big quoter of things.
What is your favorite Starkid song out of all of them? I know it's gonna be from Twisted.
Oh, the song Twisted.
Gotcha.
Is peak. And that's actually where that really deep lyric comes from.
Yeah.
That's like my number one favorite, but also my number two favorite is the song that the princess sings at the beginning of the show.
I want the moon.
Yeah, that
I
one.
want to live on the moon.
There's a specific, I was thinking about it this morning, but there's a specific section in that song where she's like, I want to make my own choices, but decisions are hard, and I'm being bombarded. Can someone help me with this arduous task? That is so fucking relatable.
Yeah.
So relatable.
For
What are your favorite?
So Lost Without You is my favorite song.
Oh, period. That's such a good song.
Sad story time. So when I was 11, my house was raided by police, and I was put in foster care. Erroneously. My dad has 4 siblings, my mom has 4 siblings, all of my grandparents were alive, and they did not ask a single extended family member to take us in, which was ridiculous. So, Lost Without You does make me cry when I listen to it, especially when she goes to the line where it's like, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah, I love
It makes me cry. I'm considering if it's the song I dance with my dad at my wedding. I love that song. And then following it up is another daddy issue song, which is Not Your Seed. I like Black Friday's title song. And I also really like the Golden Rule reprise. I love the reprise of Golden Rule. That's really good. And then Cup of Poisoned Coffee, which is 33 seconds. I just love the hey, Mr. Business, how do you do? We just sang half the song for you.
I'm trying to think of like other good songs.
I also like Kick It Up a Notch is a song, and its reprise are just whole nother level.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was gonna tell you about when I went to go see the Jangle Ball tour.
Yeah.
So I went to go see it in Chicago, and I didn't really know, like, what, I knew the concept was, like, they were gonna do VHS Christmas Carol, but they were also gonna do villain songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I wonder, like, what songs that they're gonna pick. Like, it's, like, kind of weirdly, like, I was talking to my friends about it, and then, like, some of the people that were surrounding us, like, kind of jumped in the conversation. I'm like, oh my god, what if they open with Santa Claus is going to high school? And then we were like, oh, that's actually a really good point, because it is kind of like Christmas themed. And so they, like, we're waiting, and then the lights go down, and then all I hear is jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle. And I lost my mind that I predicted that they started with Santa Claus is going to high school. I really do love that song.
Yeah, I wrote a list of, like, these are the songs that I think are the best songs that Starkid produced, and I was like, do I put the fucking Jingle Jingle song? Like, that's so weird.
Ring-a-ling-ding. And then, immediately following that up, they did Twisted.
Yeah.
So I was coming off of this high of, like, holy shit, I just predicted that they opened with Santa Claus is going to high school. I just predicted that, or, like, I am seeing Starkid people in real time in front of my face live.
Yeah.
Like, I could, like, make eye contact with Joey Richter. I was coming off of that high.
Yeah.
And then immediately they were like Dylan was going into Twisted, and I went, I can't handle this.
I need out.
The fact, I also, when I went to the tour, I went to go buy merch, like, very first thing. Corey Lubowich handed me my t-shirt, and I couldn't recover. I was like, holy shit. Like, we were waiting in line to get in, and I saw Mark Swiderski, and I went, holy fuck, this is happening.
Yeah.
And then I went in, Corey Lubowich gave me my t-shirt. I went, Corey just gave me my t-shirt. And then the whole concert was just me, like, geeking out.
Yeah.
I am not a big, like, Starkid, like, I'm not a big concert Snapchat poster.
Yeah.
But I forewarned my Snapchat story. I was like, this is it. Honestly, the Jangle Ball tour was my Eras tour before the Eras tour even started. To be honest. So.
Oh. Alrighty, well, we are way over time. It's okay.
Whoops.
Look, we could talk about Starkids for hours. Did you know that Jeff Blim is really obsessed with Jack Bauer? And so when somebody called that for, like, Trail to Oregon, that's why his whole face lights up. Because he's stupidly obsessed with Jack Bauer.
Actually, Jack Bauer was the original name of the father.
Really?
In its original concept, yeah.
Why is it? Who is Jack Bauer?
He's from the show 24.
Yeah?
I don't know that much about it.
Okay,
I think he's a spy. I
just knew that he was super obsessed with it, and that, like, fun fact. So we will be seeing you guys next week. Next whenever, not next week, because God only knows the way that I post things is... If I am... The most reliable thing about me is that I'm unreliable at best. So we'll get, the next time you see us, we will be talking about specifically the Hatchetfield saga and all of our opinions about the Hatchetfield saga. Follow us on Instagram. We are at the FemBite. It'll be on screen. It'll be linked in the description. You can follow us there for pictures, updates, things like that. We would love to see you there. And we will catch you guys next time. This has been the Feminine Bite with Aaron and Emily. Go Starkid.
Yeah.
We still suck at outros.